Hey, Dave Melenda here, Positive Polarity Podcast. Hope things are going awesome for you. I am honored again to have a really cool person here hanging out with us today. Lori Highby from Keystone Click. How are you?
I am fantastic. And yourself?
Good. Hey, you better smile. I heard you just landed a new client, so fantastic. That's a great way to be Wednesday, right? Right in the middle of the week. So
Oh, yeah.
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's awesome. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. I am a complete novice when it comes to digital marketing and marketing in general. I have this simple thing in my mind that marketing gets the phone to ring and then sales kind of takes it from there. So I don't know, is that accurate to you, or am I way off on that?
I'd say it's an element of it. I mean, marketing is, if we go back to marketing 101.
Yeah, absolutely. If they have a marketing 100, I would I'm there. So
marketing is a number of different things. It's your product, it's your positioning, it's how you promote it, and that's where the advertising comes in.
Okay.
And then how you are pricing, which kind of aligns with the positioning of it. But then where your offering lives as well. So the place for it. So that's the 4 P's: product, price, place, promotion.
Oh my gosh.
Early marketing, marketing 101. That's your core. So
Cool.
the advertising part is what helps to make the phone ring, I'd say.
Okay, cool. So I want to start way at the beginning, not at marketing, but for you, you've owned Keystone Click for about 12 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, started it in 2008.
Awesome. Perfect time to start it, by the way. Right in the midst of all the mess. So congratulations for making it through that. Where did you get the name Keystone Click from?
That's it's a great story, actually. So first it started out with what domain names are available.
Okay.
Honestly,
so that's good idea.
That's where I'm like, we're going to be a web development company. We need a good domain name.
Okay.
So I dove into playing with different words related to website design and development, because that's how I started the company. And web development, or the web itself, is really information architecture. It's how you organize information online. So I started playing with the word architecture and found the word keystone. I really liked the definition, or what a keystone is. And for those that don't know, it's basically that center piece that holds an arc together. So I like that it was holding information, holding an arc, and then the click is the action item that you want people to take. So in marketing, as you talked about, making people pick up the phone or whatever, you always want people to take an action.
Sure.
So that's the backstory.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that? So was that like a long time to create, or did that just come in an afternoon?
That was an afternoon of Googling a lot of different things.
We're same exact spot. I can remember for me, Positive Polarity came with a marketing group that I used to work with a long time ago. And I think it was Corona, no offense to COVID-19, but Coronas were involved. And then all of a sudden it just kind of happened. So isn't that fun when that just kind of clicks in? No pun intended, but it just kind of clicks in and starts off. It's
cool. Absolutely.
Awesome. So then you said you started in, was it specifically web development for you? Was that what you wanted?
Yep, that's all we were going to do. It was just going to be website design and development. And again, this was early 2008. So, Facebook was barely getting started and had any sort of momentum. And my background was marketing. I went to school for marketing and business, but people would come to me and say, well, how do I get people to my site now? And then I would just tell them what to do because I already knew all these things. And then say, well, can't you just do that for me? Like, well, I guess I could if you want to pay me to do it. Sure. Yeah, so we kind of shifted and realigned from being just a website design development company to a full service strategic digital marketing agency.
Okay. So when you say digital, do you do print and that sort of stuff as well? Or is it?
We've taken on some of those projects, and it's usually for an established client.
Okay.
So what's happened a couple times is we'll redesign someone's site and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Can you redo our brochures, or can you do our PowerPoints to look like that? So not something we typically do, but it's more of a value add offering.
Gotcha. So I'm a novice, and I am probably like a lot of people that are listening that, marketing's kind of like a scary word to me. Um, no offense. It's just like, it's something, it seems, at least from the novice's side, Lori, it seems like something that we can't really measure. And so I see marketing strategy, those two words together, and what conjures up in my mind are complicated, expensive, and not trackable. So because of that bad connotation in my head, which is a pure blind spot for me, because of that, then I kind of am like trying to find ways to not use marketing. And I got to believe that you run into that a lot, where people either think they can do it themselves or they don't see the value in it.
Sure.
How do you like not combat that, but how do you kind of help somebody through that there and help them with that blind spot?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I have a conversation with someone around marketing, and there's a lot of fear around it, but there's also a ton of information. So anyone can DIY their own website if they wanted to.
Yeah.
The value really comes into the strategy and the expertise.
Okay.
I could try to make an amazing meal, but I wasn't, trained in whatever in France to learn how to make amazing
Sure.
meals.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can read about it. I can try to replicate what I'm learning and make
Sure.
assumptions and maybe use different ingredients because I don't have exactly what they want.
Sure.
But am I using the right ingredients? I have no idea. So
Yeah.
working with someone that knows what they're doing is extremely important, or investing the time to educate yourself. But going back to that fear question, and I'm aligning it with the DIY thing, especially around websites or social media.
Yeah.
Um, Going in without having a plan or a strategy can be harmful to your business. So, um, investing the time to understand what that message is that's going to connect and resonate with your target customer
Yeah.
will reap so many more rewards for you down the road
Okay.
versus just assuming that you're saying the thing that's going to be important to your customer.
So I'm going to even dig deeper on it, because I still, and my fear doesn't go away when you say that, because I still in my mind am thinking, what do I need this for? And that's oddly enough why I wrote my book, Growing on Purpose, because I ran into so many companies that grow by mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really, if in what you're saying with a strategy and a plan, I mean, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to understand. What do I have to do versus what do you do? I mean, how do you integrate into a company like that?
So, I'm going to go back to even when we started building websites.
Yeah.
I would tell people right away, you can spend, $500,000 and have the most amazing website with all the bells and whistles. But if nobody knows it exists,
Sure.
nothing's going to happen.
Wow.
This isn't Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
You can't, if you build it, they will come, does
Yeah.
not work for businesses. You could have the absolute best product in the
Sure.
world.
Yeah.
But you have to tell people you exist and what the benefit is and what they're going to get out of it by hiring you for your service or buying the product that you've created.
Sure. So is part in that strategy, is all that laid out so that I would understand? Because I think of ROI, I mean, I kind of jump right to the return on the investment, and I think to myself, is there going to be a return? Because I can see how easy it is to spend millions of dollars or thousands of dollars, whatever your budget is, on marketing. I mean, I think about Coke or Nike, and I think, oh my gosh, I mean, to even imagine what they spend, how do they have any clue if they spend $1 billion? I don't know what the number is. If they spend X, how do they know they're getting something back on that? I mean, how do you measure that for whether it's a guy like me that's just out by myself, coaching businesses, or, you run into a company that's got 100 people on their team and 20 million in annual sales? How do you measure that?
I mean, with anything you're measuring, you need to have an end goal. What are you trying to achieve?
Okay.
So you start there and say, this is this is what success is going to look like for us. And then you kind of reverse engineer that and say, this is the path we're going to take in order to achieve this success.
Okay.
And these are the items we're going to measure in order to make sure that we're on track on the path that we've mapped out. Or if you have the right data points to keep track of, you're able to make an intelligent decision that says, this isn't working. Now's the time to make an adjustment to the plan that we mapped out.
So the success thing is really kind of like intriguing to me, because when somebody asks what's the meaning of success, it means so many different things to so many different people. I gotta believe that some of the clients that you work with or prospects that you're talking to, if you ask them what does success look like, or what does a successful campaign look like, or what is, you know, whatever that is, they gotta struggle with knowing what the answer is to that, don't they?
They do.
And so do you then come alongside them and help them understand that?
Yeah, we talk about and usually we put a time frame on it, you know.
Okay.
So we're saying, okay, and this is, let's say if we were working together, this is our first kickoff meeting, I would say, Dave, you have been working with Keystone Click for 1 year now.
Okay.
And you come to me and say, Lori, you and your team are phenomenal. I absolutely love everything that's happening.
Right.
What is it that we did that elicits that response? What goals did we achieve?
Sure. Okay. That's fair. And that's, and so like, I mean, when we look at sales training, because I take it out of your realm and bring it into mine, like just one part of the thing that I do is sales training. And so like there was, Motorola did a study that showed that every dollar that they invested in sales training, Lori, they got $19 back.
Sure.
Okay. So I talked to somebody and said, hey, you know, if every time you gave me $1, I gave you 19 back. I mean, you'd be throwing hundreds of dollars at me. You'd be throwing everything you had at a 19. Now that doesn't always happen that way. It happened for Motorola. If we were sitting here in our first meeting together and I said that success was whatever it was, and I mean, you build a map to get there, then I'm assuming, correct?
Correct. We also talk about budget.
Okay.
Both from a time investment and a dollar investment, because if we're building a plan that you're going to implement, I want to be realistic on how much time is it going to take you to do this.
Right.
If we're using dollars by buying ads or investing in other equipment, we want to be realistic about the dollars, you know, or if you're hiring us. So we also want to be realistic about, you know, if you're going to say, I want to 3x my sales in 1 year. Well, sure, but there's going to be a huge investment, both from a time and financial investment, to do that. We can build the plan, but it's going to be a lot of work.
Sure. So what do you hear is there a common answer to that question of what they want to see in a year or 6 months or whatever the time frame is?
You know, that's interesting. Every business is different. You know, it could be more leads. You know, they want more people filling out their contact forms, or they want more people attending their events. It could be they want more people to know who they are.
Okay.
You know, we've had some clients that say, we went to this event and nobody knew who we were, but we've been in business for 30 years. I'm like, that's a problem. Yeah. So let's fix this problem.
Right. Exactly.
So again, it depends on what your goals are. We had a client that they wanted to be known as the approachable experts.
Okay.
In the, I'll say, traditional world, they had that perspective, but online, there was very little ways to connect and get a hold of them. So their goal was to be approachable online. So again, it depends on what the goals are.
And I just think that, again, from my coaching experience and from my time in business with different business professionals over the years, I gotta believe a lot of people don't really know what they're so busy. I always say, why are you working, you know, in the business instead of on the business? There's so many people that are great at what they do. They're great at their craft. They're great at their trade. They don't even spend time to kind of navigate where they, you know, need to be going as a business. So I look at people like you as somebody that I want to have come alongside me and kind of, you have a strength and I have a strength, and my strength is not yours and yours is not mine. So yours is navigating these marketing strategies, but I need to really trust somebody before I'm able to, turn the reins over, so to speak. So how do you build trust, Lori, when you're starting off with somebody, whether it's a prospect or early client or whatever? How do you build that trust?
My number one approach to sales in general and building relationships is to educate.
Okay.
And that's why I give as much information as possible. Anything that I know, I'm sharing.
Okay.
I don't hold any secrets.
Cool.
That's the way that I can prove that I know what I'm talking about.
And so we tend to hang out on some of the same Zoom meetings together at times. And I think that's what really sets you apart. When I listen, there's certain people that you're like, okay, yeah, whatever, right? And then there's people like you kind of stop what you're doing and you put your pen down or you put it up because you're about to write something, right?
Sure.
And I've always looked at you as that type of person where, you're going to really share some wisdom, and I got to write this down somehow, or I got to find a way to implement this into my business. So once I've built the trust, then, or once we're in that relationship and you're educating me, what's the next step then? We would start to create this strategy, and then we would decide who's doing what in that strategy, and then we start implementing. Is that kind of
that's exactly it. We start with research, and that's really understanding who your target customer is. As I spoke to a little bit, where are they engaging online? We don't need to be everywhere. Let's fish in the ponds that our clients are hanging out in.
Sure.
Or watering holes, I like to call them as well.
Sure.
And what is that message that's going to connect and resonate to them? What is the pain that they have that is going to pull them in so that you can start building that relationship and showing that you're the expert? Once we've done all this research, then we'll look at building the plan that is focused on achieving your very specific goals that we've defined. Once that's done, then we talk about the implementation. Now, we're not going to come to you and say, here's 85 things you need to start doing today.
Sure.
We need to be realistic. Again, we're looking at the time investment, and in the budget from a dollar standpoint. But usually we have a 90-day rollout plan that says, these are the things we're going to progressively start working on.
Okay.
And do you want to do these things? Do you want us to help you and coach you on how to do them? Do you want us to do them? So what's important is that you have a roadmap. You have a path to take to help you achieve your goals.
And like, for somebody that's not even it's not even on their radar to have this path, how do you help them realize that this is crucial? Because, prior to 08, so, let's say in the early 2000s, I mean, my gosh, you just showed up and people bought stuff from you. I mean, there wasn't it wasn't as hard as it is now. And so a lot of people started their business in that kind of environment. And some people survived the 2008 situation. And now prior to COVID, we were just humming along. So do you notice a cyclical part of business when the business slows down, marketing tends to move up, or does marketing move down, or is there not any real correlation between the two?
There isn't really much of a correlation that we've noticed. And right now we haven't been impacted from a business standpoint related to COVID because a lot of our customers are in the manufacturing space and are deemed essential business.
Gotcha.
Which is great. And they're maintaining a constant flow of brand awareness, and just generating any opportunities, that come off of that.
Sure. So once we start this path, I am really wish I could figure out how to ask the question other than to just ask it. And it sounds kind of weird, but where does the creativity come from? I mean, I'm shocked.
There's so much room for creativity.
Where does that come from? I mean, I just,
You get inspiration from other sources, other people, reading books, following other influencers and brands. A
right?
lot of it comes down to the brand tone and voice that this company is trying to portray,
Okay.
and what level of, what flexibility do we have to push creativity. Are we working with a very defined box, or can we get really extreme and have some fun out there?
Sure.
So those are typically guided by the company and the
Okay.
client as far as how far can we flex on creativity.
And how do you get to find those boundaries? I mean, how does how does that work?
Yeah, usually in that kickoff meeting, we ask for, we need your branding guidelines. We need
Okay.
to know, we had a Fortune 500 manufacturing client for many years, and very, very strict on
Okay.
what we can do, what images we could use, how images should be used, what message and language should be used. And then we have some other companies and clients that we work with where they're looking to us to bring, the crazy ideas to them because they
Okay.
want to stand out in their market space.
So they kind of know going in that they're ready to push the boundaries a little bit, or they're
Hmm.
not.
Yep.
Okay. Because it's a long way of getting there, but we do a lot of work with personality profiling and DISC and things like that. And so I'm aware of the fact that there are certain people that absolutely cannot, for the life of them, get out of the box that they're in because their personality will not allow them. And they're
Hmm.
not wrong, right? They're not better or worse. They like that structure. And then there's people that actually live outside that structure and really could care less about that structure. So when you're dealing with both of those, have you ever had situations where you have both of those in a meeting where they're both, you can't come to terms? I mean, how do you navigate those waters, and how do you get to that
Those,
conflict?
I mean, they're rough waters to be
Yeah,
navigating.
totally.
So it's just facilitating the conversation to find a happy medium, but also discussing the pros and cons of going, the straight path versus the more obscure path. And it depends on the level of comfort that, the people are in the room, and ultimately who's the final decision maker.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Right, that's a good point, right? Well, and you said tone and voice, and so I start thinking about things about, like, if a company doesn't have a tone or a voice, I mean, it's kind of like a blank sheet of paper. Do
Mhm.
you like that type of person where there is nothing to unlearn, so to speak, and you're starting from square one, or you
Um,
find yourself jumping in and potentially undoing some things that have been going on over the years?
So there's a couple of different answers I'll have to that, because I there's pros and cons to both. It's
Sure.
nice when someone is very clearly defined and said, these are the rules on how to engage with our brand,
Okay.
because then we can try to push the creativity within the rules. If we're investing time to start with a blank slate, then more time and energy is going into figuring out what that voice is and what those
Yeah.
branding guidelines are, and less energy is going into the creativity.
Gotcha. Oh my gosh. I just think about how hard it was I mean, all I knew for some dumb reason, Lori, is I liked orange and I liked green. And so that was kind of, that was the palette that I started with,
Sure. Yep.
and then as we worked through it, I was like, I really want there to be an energy here because I like positive. Who likes to hang out with people that are negative, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Sure.
only negative people hang out with negative people. I really wasn't interested in that. So I'm like positive. And then we came up with the polarity piece. And then we came up with the little heartbeat. Not that it's anything exciting, but it really kind of was fun to build that. So you get to sit in a lot of that creative, like aha moments where
Mm-hmm.
things just click, I would guess,
Oh
correct?
yeah, it's fun to do that. And
And
it's not just brand, it could be campaigns, it could
yeah,
be messaging, headlines, video ideas. I mean, there's so many. That's what I thrive on, and that energy, especially when you're in a room with a team of people and brainstorming. It's probably some of my favorite parts of what I do.
that's cool. So what are some things that are working that you know, some tips that you could share with the listeners, you know, from a marketing perspective? What are some things that are working, or maybe something that they haven't thought of before, some areas that you know, you suggest that people kind of check out? Is there anything that you can think of that's really working right now?
Specific to current state,
Yeah,
or?
I mean, the COVID thing, you know, or
Yeah,
once it, you know, I mean, this is going to be a year before, you know,
sure.
the
Yep.
recovery. So for the next year, for the remainder of 2020, what do you see as something that, you know, it was working that you could share with the listeners?
Yeah, I would say any way that you can get your content out there, whether that's blogging or webinars or podcasts or social media or all of the above, the more that you are present online, the more that you're building that brand awareness, the more that people are getting familiar with who you are and what your offering is, the more value that you're adding with that content, the closer they are to trusting you and potentially buying from you.
So I want to challenge that, not challenge it, but expound on it. What does content do? You know, I hear content, I hear content, I hear content. People always want content, content, content. What does it do for me as a business owner?
It's all about the right type of content,
Okay.
first off, because you can just put anything you want. I could put recipes all day long on my website if I wanted to.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But and that's why the research is important.
Okay.
Understanding where I can identify information that's going to be of value to my target customer, and you want to diversify the value add content because everyone's got different ways of taking information in.
Sure.
You know, some people read, some people want to watch, some people want to listen. So you want to diversify your content, but more importantly, make sure it's quality value add content. And that purpose serves a couple of reasons. One, it's proving your expertise, which we've talked about a little
Hmm.
bit.
Hmm.
It's helping people get familiar with you. And, you know, they know you, they like you, they trust you.
Right.
Um, it's starting to build a following if you do it on a consistent basis. So that's extremely important as well, is that you're consistent with it. Um, I lost my train of thought for a moment there.
Right.
um, but it's all about proving your value.
Sure.
And that's really what it comes down to.
So does, and I just wrote this down because I don't want to lose this. Do followers buy? You know, you said you want to increase your followers. Do followers buy?
When you're it goes back to your goal. What is your
Okay.
goal?
Okay.
And it's, you want to look at quality versus quantity.
Okay.
So if you're putting the right type of information out there and your message is crafted in a way that makes them take action, then they can buy.
Okay.
But if you have a group of people following you because you're just putting amazing information out there, but you're not giving them some specific instruction
Sure.
and how to take the next step to do some more stuff with you or learn more from you, then they're not going to buy.
Okay. Well, and so I had my buddy Wayne Breitbarth on as a guest. Oh
Rockstar.
my gosh, the guy just blew me. He blows me away. You know, the guy's just amazing.
Uh-huh.
And I know him as a friend, and it's so cool that he was on. And we were talking about this exact thing, and because you know, you run into people like LinkedIn, because we were on LinkedIn. So you run into people that their goal is their, you know, race to 30,000, because apparently Wayne said that you can't have more than 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, which I was like, oh my gosh, didn't know that. Not that I would ever even get there, and I'm not even a third of the way there. And there are people with their race to 30,000, which again is different than the people that are looking for content and looking for depth and the quality as opposed to the quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you tend to see one or another on your clients? Are they racing to 30,000, so to speak? Let's get as many eyes on this as we can, whatever this is.
Mm-hmm.
Or are they looking more at content, or is it a combination of both?
I'd say it's a combination. But again, it goes back to what was the specific goal and objective that we're trying to achieve. So if it's brand awareness, then you may want to focus on the follower count or how many people are on your email list, because that means more people are familiar with your brand.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at, if your goal is based on dollars or number of new leads, then the number of people following you isn't as important as, is it the right people that are following me?
Sure. So it reminds me of a great story. You're a speaker, so you can appreciate this. I was number of years ago now, probably 6 years ago, I was asked to speak at an event at the Dells, and I show up at Wisconsin Dells, and I don't remember what it was that I'm talking on. I don't remember the group, but I walk in and there's 3 people in the room. I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So if you're looking at quality, if you're looking at quantity over quality, I'm already in bad shape. Well, oddly enough, 2 out of the 3 people in the room became clients. So, there's a part of me, my ego side, Lori, that just loves to talk to a full room. When I see hundreds of people, I'm like, yes, this is going to be awesome, right? And then my ego kicks in, and then there probably is where my blind spots will show up everywhere. But then I realized that if there's 3 people in the room, they still have a need. So, I think that I really appreciate your insight on, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Because all I'm trying to accomplish is have hundreds of people see me, then yeah, that 3 people was a total disaster. But because of the fact that 2 out of the 3, they turned into a coaching client, obviously that seems to be a real, end win for that. So
yeah, you had a 65 conversion rate at
right?
the speaking gig.
Yes, exactly.
That's the way to look at that.
If we could all have that, we'd be in great. So what other things are working? What other things, that do you see that maybe are not as utilized as they could be? Obviously we have LinkedIn, Facebook, all that. Are you seeing anything else that's really kind of working for some of your clients or working for you guys?
Well, creating content is definitely important, and there's a number of different ways to do that. You definitely want an element of stuff that you own and information that's on your website. And I don't think a lot of people are doing a good job of consistently blogging. And that's probably one of the easiest ways to continue to add value, not only to that potential site visitor, potential new customer, but also in Google's eyes. It's very important to be adding new content of value to your site. But the other side of that is being involved in other people's content. So I'm a guest on your podcast. So now I have external sources that are validating my expertise instead of me just saying, look at all this information I know.
Right. Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah. Or guest blogging on someone else's site, submitting content. There's a lot of websites out there that are looking for thought leaders to share their expertise to build their content, but then you can push it back. So it's someone else is talking about you, basically.
Sure. Gotcha. So are you involved with the helpareporter.com? Are you on that?
Oh, I've subscribed to that. I had to unsubscribe because it just blew up my inbox, but it's
3
a
times
fantastic,
a day was too much. Yeah.
I get enough emails as it is. But it's a great tool. PR is not our area of expertise. I know enough about it to speak dangerously and act on it dangerously, but I'll let those that's their wheelhouse. They can focus on that area.
Well, no, but you talk about content. So, I get 3, and for the listeners, it's helpareporter.com. It's fantastic because they give you a couple times a day all these access to these people that are creating these articles. So I did 7 of them, and on the 7th one, I got a hit. And they actually published some words and some thoughts that I had for realleaders.com.
Awesome.
And yeah, it was actually pretty cool. And so now all of a sudden I'm starting to see that, there is a value for content because people read it, and then they, all of a sudden you see somebody on LinkedIn looking at your profile, and you check out where they came from, and you found out that they saw you there, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Is. So I think that I agree, content is really important. I think what we struggle with as content creators is, what do you do with it? And how do you really maximize, and how do you repurpose content? So do you have any tips or ideas for us to repurpose some of our content?
Oh, for sure I do.
Awesome. Next week we'll be back and Lori will share those.
Segment
I'd
number
love to hear
2.
some.
Oh yeah, repurposing your content is probably the best thing that you can do. And there's no reason that there's no rule or anything that says you've talked about this once, you're never allowed to talk about it again. Or you posted this once on social media, you're never allowed to share it again. So first off, when the idea with repurposing content is to try to write content, produce content that is timeless. You know, you don't want to put all this energy to say, here's this brand new product that's launching tomorrow or whatever, visit us at this trade show, but that's not going to happen for anytime soon anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to identify that value add content that's going to have a very long shelf life. So let's use this podcast that we're on right now. You know, it's 30-minute meaty discussion. There's a ton of different segments in here that you can pull. You can transcribe it, turn it into a blog post. You can take the video, you can pull little snippets and maybe make quick little, 30, 60-second things that you share, little tips here and there.
Sure.
You can make static images with the quote or screenshots of what we're talking about.
Gotcha.
You can make a white paper. You can, maybe you're going to write another book and this is a chapter in your book. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can take one piece of information and reuse it over and over and over again on all different channels. And it's important because, as I mentioned earlier, people like to take in content all different ways. They want to watch it, they want to listen to it, they want to read it. So that same message that you have to diversify the how it's being distributed and the where it's being distributed.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. And that's, so we talk about people that they learn 3 ways, right? You learn either by seeing, you learn by hearing, or you learn by doing. And so considering roughly 2 out of 3 people learn visually, I think that if we're just default to the visual piece, we're going to be much more effective than not even thinking about that. So, I like the timeless piece. I just, I'm just learning now how to repurpose things. And it's so cool to see, that happen. And, whether it's, a highlighted sentence in my book and you take a picture of that and you put it on LinkedIn or whatever it is, however you repurpose. But I had this constant fear when I first started, probably 7 years ago now or so, that I had to always have something like fresh. And not that it's not fresh, but it's like you can take that old content and repurpose it, and you can change it and apply it in different ways. So I appreciate the repurposing, and I'm glad to see that you guys are doing that. So
yeah, well, it's good that you are too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, you can only come up with so many ideas in a day, right? That's why I was hoping to get this magic bullet on this creativity thing, because I really was like, where do you get that from? If it's something you can bottle, I'll buy it. So,
Well, I wish I knew how to do that.
Right? Exactly.
I like to say that I'm middle brained. I'm like very creative, but very numbers oriented as well. That's what I like, the data.
That's cool.
But I'm also, I like to paint. I like to cook and, be creative and bring ideas to the table.
Wow. Well, hey, as we start to bring this in for a landing, I want to ask about your podcast. So tell me a little bit. I was on there. I was honored to be a guest on there, and nobody threw apples at me. Nobody said I screwed up. So I was like, yes, success happened. Lori passed me. So, and what's your podcast about? And fill us in a little bit about that.
Sure. So I interview professionals and executives globally on the topic of networking and how networking got them to where they are today. To date, I've interviewed 237 individuals.
Wow, congrats.
Yes, thank you. It's been quite an adventure. We've got listeners all over the world. I should probably get a number on that, as someone that likes the statistics. And episodes are launched on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Wow, twice a week. Oh my gosh. That's a huge commitment.
It is. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I meet fascinating people from literally all over the world. Yesterday,
Sure.
I interviewed someone from South Africa, which was
Okay.
super cool conversation. Especially right now to get perspective,
Sure.
the small chatter you do before you hit the record button
Yeah.
on like, well, what's it like there right now?
Can you
So,
go to the mall or
right.
you're breaking the rules, you know?
So that's
It's,
kind of interesting.
that's awesome. I just was on a guy's podcast from Australia last Monday, and I did it. It was Monday night at 5 o'clock. And then I said, "Hey, what's going on there?" He said, "It's Tuesday morning." I'm like, "Dude, don't tell me how Tuesday works out because I want to experience it for myself." It was just really weird to be on a Zoom call with somebody that's like Tuesday morning, you know.
Sure.
A cool thing. So, so you brought up one last comment that I want to unpack for a little bit about the networking piece. So, because you're have all this experience and feedback and knowledge from these people, if you could kind of like turn that into like one or two bullet points that you've learned, what are some tips on networking that the listeners would be able to take away from that?
Yeah, I'd say there's three things that are important and probably very much a trend with the majority of the individuals that I interview.
Okay.
Number one is listen first. I think that's extremely important to allow the other individual to share their story so that you can really get to know them. Two, be real, be authentic and genuine. You don't try to be someone you're not. And three, follow through. If you make a promise to do something and to be a resource to someone, make sure that you ultimately are following through and giving. So I guess to
Sure.
some extent, there's four to
Sure.
give first too.
Well, you can only have three, so pick one. I mean, so the real part, so when I showed up in my cowboy uniform, that was probably not the right thing to do, huh? Because
I mean, unless that's who you really are.
Well, I mean, and we talk a lot on this, on our show about the soft skills, the listening skills and things like that, because again, you're so right, Lori, that so many people struggle with listening. And, I was just doing a webinar earlier today for the Better Business Bureau, and we talked about, the importance in communication of listening. And where do you learn it? I mean, where do you learn how to effectively listen? You didn't learn it in grade school. They kind of just assumed, that you learn that. So that, and being authentic and, doing what you say you're going to do, all these things are just, you would think are baseline for business, right? And unfortunately, it's things that aren't baseline and are so often not even taught in an organization. So I'm glad to hear that you say that from a networking perspective, that those are the things that you've gleaned from all those couple hundred people. So awesome. So tell me who, and don't use me because I know I wasn't, but who was your favorite that you interviewed in those couple hundred? What name kind of pops to your mind?
One of the interviews that I absolutely love,
Besides me, right? I know.
Besides you, of course. Dr. Ivan Meisner, who is the founder of BNI.
Okay.
What was cool about this, I read an article of his and I didn't even realize who he was. I was just like, oh, this is a really interesting article. Whoever wrote it would be a great guest on my podcast.
Sure.
So I sent an email and said exactly that. Oh, I loved your article. You'd be a great guest on my show. And then I realized who it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. But I don't know why I felt that way. And he replied, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Oh my gosh.
Cool.
Totally cool.
All I had to do was ask.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, that's so cool. I'm just learning that there's, and I think that's a really great, that's one of the things that I tell people is find a podcast in your industry, ask to be a guest, start to get content out there, start to be looked at as an industry professional, as an industry expert, and you're going to, catapult your career ahead once you start to, take part in all this stuff. So what's the name of your podcast?
My show is called Social Capital.
Awesome. and find it on all the cool places, right?
Oh yeah, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Pandora, all those places you can find it.
Excellent. Well, one last question before we leave. I can see the landing strip is right in front of us. So what's one thing that most people don't know about you that you feel comfortable sharing?
Let's see. One thing most people don't know about me. I have a lot of things, and I'm pretty much an open book.
Famous last words. Everyone says that, and they're like, "Oh, no one knew this about me."
You know what I am learning is that a lot of people think I was a goody two shoes, and I was not that in high school. So.
Uh-oh. So maybe on a future episode we could go into that in a little.
I don't know if we need to go into that. I just
Hey, be vulnerable. That's what you said. Be real.
Sure. Yeah. Be real.
You know, calling you out on that. So.
I love it.
What's the best way for a listener to get in contact with you if they wanted to learn more about you, your company, maybe get on your podcast, whatever?
Sure. Yeah. So I'd say first off, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. I just ask that you leave a note and let me know that you heard of me or are interested in meeting me because of Dave's awesome podcast.
Thank you.
You can always check out keystoneclick.com and I've got a little give if that's okay, Dave.
Yeah,
we've built a really awesome tool we call the Guide to Profits.
Okay.
And there's 42 ways to help you build your brand awareness, generate leads, and nurture those opportunities. You can get it as a PDF download, or we will mail it to your house. We have them printed, and they're really nice pieces. So keystoneclick.com/profits.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. 42
ways to build brand awareness, generate leads, and nurture those opportunities.
So I got to get that. So just your website and then /profits. Excellent. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Lori, for hanging out. I always learn stuff from you. I have a whole page of notes. I have to figure out how to, create this rock star marketing strategy. And, I know I can't do it by myself. So I'm always honored to hear what you have to say. And now I'm going to have 42 more things to do. So I don't appreciate that because that just, overloaded my to-do list. But I appreciate that for all the listeners, and I appreciate your time. And can't wait to see you out and about, and hopefully somewhere other than Zoom moving forward.
Oh, yes, please.
Are you thinking you'll be live again with your podcast guest back in your studio soon?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good question. Hard to say.
Yeah, Zoom gets real easy to do, so you never know. But I love being on your show. I felt like I was on the radio. You made me feel super special. So anyone listening that wants to be a guest, that wants to talk about the networking side of their life, maybe be nice to Lori and she might let you on. So thanks again, and look forward to seeing you out and about.
Likewise, this is a lot of fun. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Absolutely. Take care.